Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Thursday, November 21st, 2024, and you're listening to Alex's News. The temperature in Riverside today will reach a mild 75 degrees with a low of 51. Coming up, we'll explore the government's efforts to dismantle Google's digital dominance, examine the potential financial challenges facing California's budget, and look at the continuous volcanic activity on Iceland's peninsula. All this and more coming up on Alex's News. We begin tonight with a major development in the tech world, as the Justice Department proposes what could be the most significant corporate breakup since AT&T in 1984. With us now is our tech correspondent, Ethan Parker. Ethan, walk us through what's being proposed here.
Thanks, Grace. According to documents filed by the Department of Justice, they're seeking dramatic changes to Google's business structure following that pivotal antitrust ruling back in August. The DOJ wants Google to sell off Chrome, its incredibly popular web browser, and is looking to restrict how the company operates its Android mobile system.
Just how dominant is Google in these markets, Ethan?
The numbers are staggering, Grace. According to market research data, Google currently controls about 90% of all online searches globally, and their Chrome browser, which the DOJ wants them to divest, commands roughly 2/3 of the global browser market.
What about these default search deals we've been hearing about?
Well, the New York Times reporting shows Google pays around $26 billion annually to companies like Apple and Samsung to be the default search engine on their devices. The DOJ wants to ban these arrangements entirely, arguing they unfairly maintain Google's monopoly.
And what's the timeline looking like for all of this?
We're looking at several key dates ahead. Google has until December 20th, that's 29 days from now, to submit their own proposed remedies, according to court documents. Hearings will begin in April 2025, about 150 days from now, with Judge Mehta aiming for a final decision by summer 2025.
How is Google responding to all this?
The Los Angeles Times reports that Google's president of global affairs, Kent Walker, has come out strongly against these proposals, arguing they would harm American consumers and weaken U.S. leadership in global technology. The company maintains these changes would break products that their users find valuable.
And what are legal experts saying about the likelihood of success here?
It's mixed, Grace. Professor Laura Phillips Sawyer from the University of Georgia School of Law tells BBC News these changes could help restore competition. However, Syracuse University's Professor Shubha Ghosh questions whether some remedies, particularly the Chrome spin-off, might be overreaching beyond the scope of the original trial findings.
Thank you for breaking this down for us, Ethan. We'll certainly be following this story as it develops. We turn now to California's financial outlook, where new analysis shows both promising signs and potential storm clouds ahead. For more on this, we're joined by our Sacramento Bureau Chief, Chloe Martinez. Chloe, what's the latest on California's budget situation?
Grace, according to the Legislative Analyst's Office, California's budget is currently roughly balanced, but there are some significant concerns on the horizon. The LAO is projecting a $2 billion deficit for the 2025-26 fiscal year, and that number could grow substantially in the years ahead.
Can you break down what's working well in the current budget?
The state has actually seen some positive developments, Grace. Tax revenues have exceeded expectations by $7 billion, largely thanks to strong stock market performance and substantial compensation packages from tech sector employees. In fact, according to state financial records, major tech companies like NVIDIA, Apple, Meta, and Alphabet contributed nearly 10% of the state's income tax withholding in early 2024.
That's a significant portion from just the tech sector. What are the main concerns looking ahead?
That's exactly part of the problem, Grace. The LAO warns that this heavy reliance on the tech industry and high-earning taxpayers makes the state budget particularly vulnerable to market swings. They're projecting that deficits could reach as high as $30 billion annually by 2028-29, We're also seeing limited job creation outside of government and healthcare, soft consumer spending, and rising unemployment rates.
How is the state government responding to these challenges?
Governor Gavin Newsom has put forward several proposals, including setting aside funds for potential litigation against the federal government and creating a backup disaster relief fund. He's also pushing for increased tax credits for the film and television industry. However, Assembly Speaker Robert Rivas is taking a more conservative approach, advocating for maintaining existing services rather than expanding programs.
Thank you for that comprehensive update, Chloe. We'll be sure to keep following this developing story. Here are some other headlines. Danish military forces are monitoring a Chinese bulk carrier, the Yipeng 3, following the rupture of two undersea fiber optic cables in the Baltic Sea. The cables, connecting Sweden to Lithuania and Finland to Germany, were severed on Sunday and Monday. Finnish, Swedish, and German authorities have launched investigations into suspected sabotage. In Florida, 30-year-old Haroon Abdul Malik Yainer has been arrested and charged with plotting to bomb the New York Stock Exchange. FBI agents discovered bomb-making materials in his storage unit, including watches with timers and electronic circuit boards. Yainer, who expressed desires to reboot the U.S. government, will remain in detention while awaiting trial. Ukraine's military reports that Russia has launched what they claim to be an intercontinental ballistic missile toward the city of Dnipro, marking a potential first in the ongoing conflict. Western officials dispute this claim. The attack, which included multiple missile types, damaged an industrial facility and a rehabilitation center, injuring at least 2 people. The International Criminal Court has issued arrest warrants for Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, former Defense Minister Yoav Gallant, and several Hamas officials for alleged war crimes and crimes against humanity. The court accuses Netanyahu and Gallant of intentionally depriving Gaza's civilian population of essential supplies. In New Zealand, a new law has taken effect banning the display of gang symbols in public areas. The legislation targets 35 specific gangs and carries penalties of up to 5,000 New Zealand dollars or 6 months imprisonment for violations. The ban applies to gang insignia on clothing, vehicles, and all public spaces outside private homes. And now for our third story of the day, we turn to the ongoing volcanic activity in Iceland. Joining us is our science correspondent Ethan Parker, with details about the latest eruption. Ethan?
Thanks, Grace. According to ABC News, Iceland's Reykjanes Peninsula is experiencing its 7th volcanic eruption since December 2023, with the latest one beginning just yesterday at 11:14 p.m. local time.
7 eruptions in less than a year seems extraordinary. Can you put this into perspective for us?
Absolutely. As reported by KCRA News 3, this is particularly significant because prior to December 2023, this region had been dormant for about 780 years. The latest eruption has created a fissure approximately 3 kilometers long, that's about 1.8 miles, in what's called the Sundana Skagar crater row.
What about the local impact? I understand there's a town nearby.
Yes. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution reports that the fishing town of Grindavik, home to about 3,800 residents and located roughly 50 kilometers southwest of Reykjavik, has been significantly affected. The latest eruption has forced the evacuation of around 50 houses and the closure of the Blue Lagoon Resort, which is a major tourist attraction in Iceland.
Can you walk us through the timeline of these eruptions?
Of course. Since December 18, 2023, we've seen 7 distinct eruptions. The first was the largest, lasting 3 days. Then we had shorter eruptions in January and February 2024, followed by the longest one in March, which continued for 54 days. The 5th and 6th eruptions occurred in May and August, lasting 24 and 14 days respectively. And now we're witnessing the 7th.
What about the broader implications? Should people be concerned about air travel?
While the current eruption isn't affecting air travel, authorities are warning about gas emissions in parts of the peninsula. It's worth noting that this intense activity is actually quite normal for Iceland, which typically sees one volcanic eruption every 4 to 5 years due to its location above a volcanic hotspot in the North Atlantic.
Thank you for that comprehensive update, Ethan. We'll be sure to keep our viewers informed as this situation develops. That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.5, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.